And of course, here's our first Protoss today. It's SOS, currently 55-39 in total Pro League matches, including StarCraft Brood War. But in the 2014 Pro League, he's currently with no wins, taking 2 losses versus Zerg player, just a single Zerg player, in fact, where he lost both a macro game and lost to an all-in.
Yeah, and he's got to be coming back here saying, like, okay, I'm facing a Terran, I'm feeling good, I'm first up, you know, I got to prove to myself, my team, and all of my fans, of course, that I'm going to play really well and that I'm not a guy who deserves to go 0-2 in the first round.
And this is his very first time facing Terran this season, so it's a fresh start, a clean slate for him. And with the way this matchup is playing right now, he's got to be feeling pretty comfortable. The opposite is true of Sejong here, TY, formerly known as Baby. He did take 1 loss, or rather 1 win against Protoss, defending a Blink Stalker, and the first player to do so, famously by using a sensor tower. That was on Yunsu, I believe. But, you know, talking to some of his personal friends in between, before the matches started, he seems a little bit nervous today because he has to play against a Protoss player. He has to play on his 6th anniversary. A lot of hype and a lot of stress, of course, on your shoulders in this type of situation.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how a lot of these Korean players are like, oh, Protoss is so hard, Protoss is OP, like, I don't know how to beat them, especially in the late game as a Terran. You know, that's got to add a lot of nerves going into this game.
Yeah, and I think we're going to go right into it right now. Game 1 between JINAIR Green Wings and KT Rolster for 2014 Pro League, casted by Brennan and Wolf.
Down here, starting in the bottom right, the red Protoss of JINAIR Green Wings. This is, of course, SOS.
There's a camera shot of him now. A really, really strong Protoss, especially towards the later part of 2013. And he's up against a man who's got a lot of fans in the crowd today. It's his 6th anniversary for joining Pro League. At least the day that it's been chosen to celebrate that, because it's not exactly the 6th, but they're playing on Sejong Station here. And like I said before, I really, really would like to see a unique, unusual style out of TY. If he really wants to play, you know, Maru's game, for example, and try to be aggressive with bio, medevacs, and just harass a lot through the mid-game and try to get ahead that way. Against a player like SOS or against a player like Trap, it's just not going to be very effective, I feel. This is where SOS really shines. He's actually a great defensive player. He will get through that mid-game if you just try to play straight up against him. You do something unusual, maybe you can catch him off guard, and maybe that's the one way you can actually take a win. Yeah,
I'm a bit worried about 2i because, you know, like we said before, he's a bit nervous coming into this game, and a lot of times when players are nervous, they're like, oh, you know, I'm just going to play my game, I'm going to play standard, we're going to see how it goes, just try to do my best, instead of thinking outside the box and saying, oh, maybe I should do this kind of aggression here, maybe I should do a different type of strategy, different types of builds like you were talking about, maybe mech, something different, you know, to catch SOS off guard. But if he's just feeling nervous and he just wants to get a solid game in, maybe he does go standard, and maybe that will be the end of him in the end.
Yeah. Well, I like this so far. He's going to go for a command center first, which means that he's not, of course, putting on any really aggressive pressure with a fast factory, you know, in the rarest case, maybe a Widow Mine drop. But it will be scouted right away, and in fact, probably delayed by SOS. He's forced to send down additional SCVs. And what he can do, what SOS can do after scouting this, is put on a lot of pressure with Zealot, Stalker, and even forces 2 additional SCVs off. That's how it works as a Terran player. It always takes 3 SCVs to build a command center.
It doesn't take 2 to make things all right. It takes 3 to make things all right.
Yeah. It takes 3 legs to make a table stand, and it's basically what it feels like when you're a Terran player. If you CC first, you know if your Protoss opponent scouts you early, you're going to take 3. And look at this change-up by SOS. After scouting the command center first, pulls out of gas, and then also starts his Nexus. I can't tell you how much is mined from that gas. Maybe not even any at all. Yeah, it looks like about 4 or 8 was mined before he pulled out. So you're going to get that Nexus up much faster, and this is a great way to respond to what he scouted.
Yeah, I really like this. I've said this before, I love players who respond to the information that they're getting. He sees the command centers first. He could have decided to put on some aggression, but no, he decides to pull out of gas, get that command, that Nexus up a little bit earlier, and just go right into the macro game. I really like this for SOS going into the mid game here. He's not going to do any aggression early on. He's going to try to make it long and use that Protoss strength.
Yeah. Now, if you're a Terran player who plays on the ladder, especially if you're playing, towards the higher end of the ladder, say Diamond League or Master League, no matter what region you play on, you definitely feel right now with the current state of the game a little bit frustrated, because when it becomes very late game with the Colossi switch that comes in, or Templar, depending on which order they go into, it can be very frustrating when you get to that late game stage. And for TY right now, he's got to say, okay, well, I'm safe early game. He's not attacking me. I've seen this, but I do not want to let him comfortably get into the mid game. I can't get him any edge over me. And without a Reaper, it's actually going to be very difficult to scout this Stargate, especially because it's positioning. There's no way TY is going to scan right there.
Yeah, I mean, you can just look at SOS's base right now, and you see all of his buildings are totally spread out. He has that gateway all the way in the northeast of his base. He has a pylon in the bottom. He has that Stargate all the way in the north, right above his second Nexus. He just wants to make sure that TY has no chance, because he knows that TY did not go for those Reapers. It's going to be hard for him to get a scout in there. Maybe he's going to go for a scan, and doing this makes it a lot harder for TY to see these buildings.
And what we have with this proxy factory is most likely going to be a Widow Mine Marine drop. He's going to have a few Marines going in with the Widow Mines with the timing of this. We could maybe see Banshees, but I highly doubt it. It's not really common in the current metagame, especially not in Korea. But this is also going to give him a good amount of scouting. When he gets into his opponent's main base, he will get some information about what's going on. The question is, will it be too late? Because the first Oracle is already out, and I really love how SOS is playing this. He's being aggressive with an Oracle while taking a greedy third base, and on this map, when your opponent goes CC first, you have this timing window to keep him trapped while you get that third base up. And here comes that first Oracle.
And TY being very prepared for this, getting that missile turret up just in time, maybe 2 seconds before the Oracle even flies in. He knows the timings, and look at this. He's building a tank out of this proxy factory.
All right, so with this siege tank, there's... The thing is, we've seen this before, but it's very rare, and this Oracle's actually going to get chased away. Really nice turret placement. He also gets one right next to his barracks, so he can't kill any of those units coming out. But with this, what he's probably going to do is keep the factory hidden and also the siege tanks hidden, and hit a 2 or 3 siege tank timing with Marines, Stim, and +1. It's very, very scary to deal with as a Protoss. What he could also maybe do is make Banshees. It looks like he's switching. Yeah, he could actually make Banshees out of this as well. He is scouted now with the Oracle.
And that's going to be big. It's going to give SOS a lot of time to deal with this. He sees the tank. He's going to know what's coming now. He sees the Marines going across the map as well. And now a missile turret even being built right here.
The starport is actually not being built on the tech lab, but this is actually a great little position to use just one siege tank to get some damage done. The mothership core is going to have to make some interesting decisions here. If he uses the overcharge, he could try to target down the siege tank. I think it's in range. Don't forget, during all this, that third base is up, and he does use the overcharge. Is it in range? No, not quite. And that's very annoying, and he actually has to send those probes over to his third base.
This is actually great that SOS got that third base up so early, that greedy third base, because it's going to be able to bring a lot of those probes down there and protect it from this siege tank fire on the ground. TY continuing making medevacs now. It's going to provide him even more vision.
He's actually also bunkering up a little bit down here. And what is SOS doing? One more shot, 2 more shots would have taken out that mothership core. He's going to be very careful with that. A big concern, though, I have for TY here is that the warpins that we're going to see very shortly are going to be a big problem for him, because he doesn't have a lot of defenses set up at home. He's really relying on the fact that he's got his opponent a little bit contained at his natural, but he doesn't know about these pylons. And with all the warpins that we have, plus charge about to finish, he's going to need these defenses. He's going to need a second bunker here.
Yeah, he did see the stalkers out on the map, so he's got to know something's up. At least a pylon is out on the map. He's starting to get defenses up at his base as well. And look at that, we actually saw for a minute there 2 Templar Archives on the production tab. He did thankfully cancel one. He's continuing to get that charge as well. I like that decision against his siege tanks as well as getting that Templar Archives. He is going to come in here, gets the...
Ooh, I don't know about this. He's actually just going to go in from the back and attack into these bunkers, and he will clean up the siege tank and regain mining. How many zealots will he lose? You know what? Actually, with no SCVs to repair the bunker, this is fine. And he chooses to do this rather than attacking into that newly fortified position at the natural, which in retrospect is probably the better choice. This game is so strange. We don't really see games like this in this matchup where somebody just makes one siege tank out in the middle of nowhere and gets a little bit aggressive with it. This drop is actually totally free to come in here at the third base. There's no cannons up just yet, no units nearby. He's got to pull his probes again here.
Yeah, he's going to have to pull those, but he's going to come over here and defend this drop. It looks like he wants to send that medevac into the main base, and he's going to do just that. He's going to have to warp in a bunch of stuff here. If he gets the feedback, it could do a lot of damage to the medevac. He's trying to go for it. It just barely does not kill the medevac. Continuing to drop the units in the base, stimming now, trying to get as much damage as he can. He's going to fly out pretty safely.
And that's that TY micro that we talked about. You could see he was just able to pick a probe or two off there on his way out with a medevac, basically no health, virtually no hit points left. He's even going to try to get this pylon here. Any little crack he can find in his opponent's defenses, he's going to try to abuse that. And now he empowers a gateway. Meanwhile, he's attacking at the natural a little bit with another drop. He expands to his third base. Economy-wise, though, I really have to say SOS has not been hurt too much by this, and he's had his third base up for a long time. This is the critical drop, on the other hand. He's back here behind the mineral line and the factory.
Yeah, he gets a lot of units now here behind the factory, behind the mineral line. He is going to have a very nice protection. He's probably going to pick up right now and get out after doing a bunch of damage while taking out that gateway. He's got to be careful about that cybernetics core as well.
Yeah, the cybernetics core is taking some serious hits here too, like you said. And losing your cybernetics core is not really excusable. You're going to lose the ability to make a lot of those crucial units, especially the stalkers. Meanwhile, we do have a little bit of kiting going on here on these units, and actually he does not get the core. That's a bit weird.
Oh, wow. I don't know what happened there. If he had just targeted it down, even if he continues right now, he could possibly go for that cybernetics core.
Yeah, he's just so worried about microing everything else he's working on right now. Understandably so. Attacking here again at the natural. The third base with the addition of those cannons is actually pretty tough to attack. And let's talk about resources spent here. +2 armor is about to finish for SOS, okay? +1 attack is on the way too with that second forge. He's getting the Twilight or the Temple Archive going. Another drop is coming to the main base. He's just keeping it. He's got a ton of upgrades on, but he needs to keep these drops at bay because TY is not giving a lot of time to rest here.
Yeah, he is not giving any time to rest. He's continuing to go with these drops, being very, very aggressive, like you said before, he has to do. And so far, it's paid off pretty nicely. He's gotten a lot of probes, especially in that last drop. But like you said before, SOS getting that third base up really, really early could help him out here, but if TY continues this aggression, and SOS is not really responding too well to it.
This is a critical moment here. If he gets this Nexus, he basically has to get this Nexus. He's going to commit to it. He's not going to run away until the last second. Gets the Nexus and gets out. Now he can actually continue the aggression. The cybernetics core is down, and he's going for the gateways in the main base. The drops come in the back as well. He's trying to decide how much he wants to commit here. He's going to engage on the low ground. He needs to be careful because now he's surrounded. The Archons want to get some hits on those medevacs, but they're just not going to be able to.
Oh, and microing so many different things at the same time in the map. He's bound to do this. He loses both of those medevacs. He's continuing with the aggression. He is just not letting up at all onto SOS.
If he had not gotten that Nexus, SOS would have been in a great spot because he cleaned up so much here. The two Temple Archives, as you can see on the screen, did not finish. But SOS's economy was, or he didn't cancel one, is what I mean to say. I'm saying all the wrong things here. But the economy of SOS was getting out of control, and so was the tech. This actually gives TY an opportunity to continue mining at his 3 bases, get a 4th Commander up, and he's another SCV over there, and then get his own upgrades up and be able to deal with that high Templar tech. On the other hand, this structure right here, the one that you guys just saw clicked on for a moment, the robotic support bay, is the scariest structure for a Terran player who's trying to get ghosts out to deal with the High Templar because he knows the switch is coming. He just doesn't know exactly when, and he doesn't want to overcommit to Vikings before that.
Yeah, he doesn't want to overcommit right now, just trying to kite these Zealots as well as the Archon, doing a decent job so far. He's got to be careful of those storms, though. Doesn't want to get too close. We're going to have to see how well he splits here, or if he can get those ghosts out as well for some nice EMP. Continuing with the drops here. Attacking here. A bunch of those Marauders getting stormed, but it's not going to do too much damage. Continuing with this while dropping in the main base as well.
This is what happens if you let a Terran player start doing a lot of damage to you early on. Things can snowball. We've seen it before. And right now, SOS is in trouble. He's struggling to defend all of his bases. He's usually got some solid defenses up, but all 3 of them is something he's struggling to defend. You know, he needs to make sure he has something at each base, or else he's going to get picked apart. Really great storms here. On the other hand, really great splits by TY, and now he's trying to kite against those Zealots.
Yeah, we see he has mostly Marauders in this force. The Storm's not doing as much damage as he would against all the Marines, and so many of these Marauders are just going to continue cutting those Zealots.
Yeah, he leaves another Archon here to be killed. Another Storm goes down, but like you said, with a mostly Marauder force, this is This is what a Terran player who gets away with 3 bases for long enough would like to ideally do. Have a mostly Marauder force, very few Marines, very, very heavy on damage, very heavy on hit points here, and this Nexus is in trouble. I'm not sure if SOS can actually save it. He's going to need a Money Storm here, plus that Colossus.
Yeah, he's going to have to go for the Money Storm here. The High Templar does not get the Storm off, just dies in the front. Photon Overcharge goes down as well. Maybe if he can focus down this Nexus, it's a bit hard though with all these Zealots, the Colossus in the back as well.
Oh, that Storm hits basically nothing. Meanwhile, this Warp Prism also does nothing. 40 supply lead here for TY, and he's actually going to get this Nexus. Nothing SOS can do. And oh no, SOS is in so much trouble now. Again, pushed back to 2 bases against a Terran who now has 4 Command Centers, who's getting +3 attack, keeping up with the upgrades decently, and has also started Viking production. So Brendan, I have to say, SOS's situation is starting to look pretty dire here.
I'm getting some chills watching TY play, man. I mean, you have to say that SOS has let him do this a little bit, but TY just all over the map, all over SOS right now, dropping him so many different places. He does not look nervous at all. He's getting his 4th base up now. He is on such a healthy economy, like you said, getting all of his upgrades, being super, super aggressive against SOS. SOS is just floundering around. He has not looked so good so far.
Yeah, and I have to say, I feel like TY is definitely feeding a little bit off of the crowd energy that's going for him right now. He's got so many Marauders in his army composition. That's what's really important. And on top of that, he's been able to keep his medevacs alive. Most of the time when he drops, he saves the medevac. This Warp Prism's not going to get anything done.
This Warp Prism has been up there in the north for at least a minute or two now, and you can just see how much better TY is micromanaging all of his stuff, multitasking all over the map, whereas SOS is just not up to par with him so far.
Yeah, I mean, and consider this, with all the multitasking, all the aggression that we're seeing from TY, if you're SOS and you have to use all your warpments at home to barely hang on, and you're not thinking about warping in 5 Zealots at your opponent's base, you're thinking, oh my god, I wish I had 5 Zealots to warp in at home because I just lost all of mine. And that Cybernetics core has been down for so long, so he's been heavy on the Zealots, which means the Marauders can kite so well. He's only just now rebuilding his Cybernetics core. Blink is almost done for a basically non-existent Stalker force. And I really feel that with good cutoff micro here by TY, he might actually be able to get that Nexus. Let's see.
Gonna have to look for some EFPs. I didn't see any go out down just yet, but just such a huge force out of TY right now. A good Storm goes on to a lot of the units of TY.
Yeah, and here we go. Now he's actually eating the Storms, but he's got those medevacs for healing. The Marauder force is just too strong right now, and SOS forced to retreat here. Not enough anti-air, no answer for just a few Vikings, and they are slowly but steadily keeping those Colossi at bay. Here comes the Mothership Core, a bit too slow to participate, and I have to say, this may actually be the end for SOS here. TY looking incredibly strong today.
Time Warp goes down as well. Another nice Storm here, but we see those 2 Vikings just taking down most of those and all of those Marauders. There's no answer out of SOS right now, and you see the supply dropping for him down to 66 to the 150 of TY.
Even landing those Vikings, you know what that means. It means it's time to get out of the game. That's what TY is saying here. A look of confidence on his face. There's a look of despair on SOS's face. GG, and TY, the fan favorite, takes the first match. And not only does he beat SOS, a player who's more accomplished than him so far in Heart of the Swarm, but he also wins a Terran versus Protoss in a league where that is a quite rare occurrence. Now 2-0 against Protoss as a Terran player, so Terran fans everywhere are looking at this man right now.
And this guy, 6th anniversary, he just held up 6 fingers there. I got a feel for him on his 6th anniversary, playing so well against a race that he was not feeling comfortable against. Very nervous, we heard going into this match. Just playing so beautifully. It was so awesome to watch him play.
You know, the way I was looking at this match, I thought that he